So this is the centralization and decentralization students. Now, after this, a quick look at a very important aspect of the what you call is organizing is the departmentation. Students, departmentation is a process of grouping individuals, or you can say it is the process of grouping the individual jobs into departmentation. How this departmentation is done? It is very simple proposition. Departmentation is done by functions, by products, by territory, by customers, by process, by time and numbers. Let us see all these by one. See, first of all, departmentation by function. A quick look at this slide can tell you that departmentation has been done by the functions. We all know that the production, finance, marketing, personnel, advertising, sales, market research, what is this? All these are the functions of the organization. If there has been separate kind of team for managing all these functions, so it is called the departmentation by the functions. Generally, these things are possible in case of the large organization. In small organizations, when the resources are limited, we cannot expect that everything is possible or things can be done by dividing the functions on the basis of their role. Another category, another departmentation is departmentation by products. One company can be indulged into manufacturing of more than one products, namely product A, product B, product C. Now, the same functions of management like the production, marketing, finance, personnel, etc. are dealt with independently by the products themselves. Then, use of large-scale enterprise whose activities are geographically spread over is the territorial departmentation. The territorial departmentation geographically divides the areas: north zone, east zone, west zone, south zone, and the heads are appointed. Head offices are started in all these zones. So the responsibility of managing the affairs of organization lies on the zones of respective heads of the respective zones. Students, there is one more division of the department by the customers. Each department will serve the particular type of or particular class of customers. This is also a very important part. Of course, we see on the top is the board of directors, followed by the managing director, under whom there will be finance, marketing, production, and personnel. The customers categories like wholesaler, retailer, some products are sent overseas also for the exports. So here is a different kind of chunk to be managed by the departmental heads on the basis of the type of customers. You can see the role here lies on the marketing department. Marketing will be responsible for wholesale, exports, and also the retail sale of the product. This is called departmentation by the customers, that what kind of customers are there according to which these sales are made. Students, departmentation is done by process and equipments also. The activities are grouped according to process or equipment in organizations, and it is generally used in manufacturing industries, where we find that it leads to specialization, there is no confusion, and there is also proper utilization of manpower and machinery engaged in proper way. That is why it is called the departmentation by process. Different kinds of processes of production are involved. Products, by and large, passes through different processes of manufacturing. Obviously, specialization is possible and things can become easily understandable. Take the case of a textile mill. In textile mill, there are different processes of production. For example, spinning, weaving, bleaching, dyeing, finishing. Five, five processes are involved before a product comes as a finished product in our hands as a cloth that we wear. Here, what we see? We see here that there is each process. For example, spinning. Spinning is one job. Weaving is another job. Spinning, weaving, finishing, dyeing, all processes are there. For each job, for each process, there are specialists. So there is no confusion. A person who is weaving the clothes may not perform the task of finishing or what you call spinning. So depending upon that, so what happens in such kind of situations, the manpower and the machines are engaged in a proper way, and there is a proper utilization. Last, students, last category is the time and number departmentation. In case of time and number, what happens? The activities or the groups are divided on the basis of time. For example, in the recent years, the call centers or any factory. In factories, always there has been the shift system. All workers do not work in same shift. Depending upon the working hours, for example, a factory works for 24 hours, so there will be 3 shifts. So, in call centers also, work is done in such a way that time allocation is done on the basis of the time. Departmentation is done on the basis of time. And number also, the activities or group on the basis of performance by certain number of persons is also a kind of departmentation. Well, friends, this was a detailed idea about the basic aspects. You can have a quick look at what we discussed today. We have seen today some important aspects of the organizing process. That is the theory of span of control or span of management, where we found 3 categories of relationships. That is the direct relationship, direct single relationship, direct group relationships, and cross relationship. And we see how the number of subordinates is to be calculated in each category. Then we also looked in a faster way at 3 important aspects of the organizing function, that is the centralization, decentralization, and departmentation. So this was a brief idea. In the next session, we will look at the most important or the last aspect of the last but one, I can say, because 2-3 more important things are there to cover up now. Authority. Authority is the next discussion that we are going to make now after discussing all these aspects. Students, now we are going to have a look at a very important aspect of the organizing function of the management concept. In this session, it is the authority that we will be looking at. Let us see, first of all, what is authority? Authority is that form of power which is legalized and legitimized. Authority is a form of power that is a statute giving power, for example, to a minister. If a person has power due to a special office he occupies, this is known as his authority. For example, we can say that police commissioner has the authority to issue orders and get them obeyed by virtue of his authority and by virtue of the authority he occupies. 2 things are there which are to be merged to understand the concept of authority. Power plus legitimacy is equal to authority. Authority consists of two important components: power and legitimacy. As mentioned in the beginning, that authority is that form of power which is legalized and legitimized. Authority means legitimate power which has been approved by the people, or the power in accordance with the constitution or law of the statute. A government officer, for example, is competent to use authority. His authority is clearly defined. I'm telling you all this so that you understand that how this authority, which we are talking here with the help of these examples, is going to work in the organizations. In the organization, what happens? What we need? Basically, it is the right to make decisions with respect to work assignments and to require subordinates to perform assigned tasks in accordance with the decision made is the authority. In English language, the word authority can be used to mean power given by the state, as mentioned earlier. According to Michael in the Encyclopedia of Social Sciences, authority is the capacity innate or acquired for exercising ascendancy over a group. You'll see how I will link all this with the authority at the place of work. Weber defined domination, that is authority, on the chance of commands being obeyed by a specific group of people in the organization. Authority now, students, in the light of this brief conceptual clarity, simply means the power given by the state in the form of the government, judges, police officer, etc. The word authority is used in the name of an organization. The name usually refers to the governing body upon which such authority is vested. Students, after preparing this background for the deeper understanding of the concept of authority, we have come to this point that authority is an institutionalized and legal power inherent in a particular job, function, or position that is meant to enable its holder to successfully carry out his or her responsibilities. Authority is power that is delegated formally. It includes a right to command a situation. It includes a right to commit resources. It includes right to give orders and accept them to be obeyed. It is always accompanied by an equal responsibility for one's action or failure to act, which means both go together, are closely linked with each other. In government, the term authority is often used interchangeably with power in political philosophy. The jurisdiction of political authority, the jurisdiction of the political authority, the location of the sovereignty, the balancing of the freedom and authority. Since the emergency of social sciences, authority has become a subject of research in a variety of empirical settings. So you understand here what is the main concept of authority. Now, students, we divide this authority in two parts: line and staff. That is the line authority and the staff authority. Let us see what is the line authority. The line authority means those organizational members that are directly involved in delivering the products and services to the services of the organization. This is called line authority. Staff authority is that kind of authority where those organizational members that are not directly involved in delivering the product and services to the organization, but provide support for line personnel. This is the staff authority. Thereby comes another important part. In order to understand the entire concept of authority, let us look at the delegation. What is delegation? Delegation is nothing. It is the process of transferring the authority for a specific activity or task to another member of the organization and empowering that individual to accomplish the task effectively. Again, try to understand. A delegation is that process by means of which the authority for a specific activity or task is given to another member of the organization, which empowers him to accomplish the task effectively and efficiently. Transforming the responsibility for a specific activity or task to another member of the organization is the delegation. Delegation is simply empowering that individual to accomplish the task efficiently and effectively. Let us first see what are the steps in delegation. In delegation, there are few steps. Decide which goal or task to delegate. First step. Everything cannot be delegated. So it is to be decided that which goals or tasks will be delegated to the subordinates so that it doesn't bring any kind of awkward situation. Another step is to make assignments. Because the jobs are to be given to someone, the proper assignment should be done. Who will do what? It's to be decided. Then for doing work, one needs authority also. Delegation is done. By delegating authority, we are giving responsibility to an individual to undertake that task. But that is not suffice. That is not sufficient. What is required is to grant him some kind of authority also. And also, make him responsible and accountable if anything wrong happens in the organization. Only holding someone responsible and accountable for job is not sufficient. A proper monitoring is also one of the important steps in the delegation. A look at what is being done is also very important. It's a very important aspect to take into consideration. It cannot be ignored at all. So delegation is a complete process, students. It's not that, okay, I give power to you, you carry on the work. No. Proper mechanisms are used so that there is no failure. The organizations are the institutions which require that there are no chances of mismanagement, there are no chances of failure. This decided. Students, now we should see what are the benefits of delegation. When delegation is done, people say that it is a good exercise because you are dividing your work. The most important benefit of the delegation is empowerment. In this era, we talk of empowerment. Why not empowerment at the place of work? This will help in better decision making. Two minds are always better than one. So obviously, better decision making will be possible, and it will provide an opportunity for the development of analytical and problem solving skills of the subordinates. And managers can magnify their accomplishments in a more systematic way, in a more particular way, and the results will be worth seeing. The goals of organization will be achieved if proper delegation of authority is done and the benefits are availed from that kind of delegation. Students, there are some barriers to delegation also. What are the barriers of delegation is very important part of discussion. Managers and subordinates are two important parties between whom the delegation of authority moves. Managers experience dual accountability. People say this. I will explain how this dual accountability, and also the managers may refrain to delegate because they are insecure about their value to the organization. Managers simply lack confidence in the abilities of their subordinates is another barrier to delegation of authority. And subordinates also, it is from the side of subordinates who are reluctant to accept delegation. They say that okay, we are managing, so why should we take extra load? But from the manager side, the most problems which arise in the way of delegation, effective delegation, is the role of the managers, who actually by and large do not want to share their power with anyone, because they feel that their value will become less in the organization. Sometimes they don't feel that others are competent enough to handle the situation in the systematic way, and they feel that the subordinates may not be able to perform that task as efficiently as their own can do this. Anyhow, so pros and cons of everything are there. If all is well, then things will be more systematized. If really the capabilities of the subordinates are doubtful, then delegation should not be done. And as far as the insecurity about their value to the organization is concerned, I think this is a kind of feeling that should be removed from their minds. The managers should not refrain to delegate the power. They should encourage to delegate the power, because by virtue of that, they are not only sharing responsibility, but they are encouraging others to come forward and show their caliber. And the reluctance on the part of the subordinates who are not willing to accept changes, of course, is there. But initiatives should be taken up. More initiatives should be taken up so that things become easy. Apart from this, students, finally, how can we overcome these barriers to the delegation is very important discussion here. That will conclude this part of the discussion. Here, I want to share with you some of the points which are to be taken into consideration. First of all, this delegation of authority is required to increase the security of the jobs. A person will be specializing in more than one job, so it will be granting him more worth in the organization, rather than he will not be losing his job. He will be becoming skillful, more talented. It will create awareness for the need of delegation. By creating the awareness for the need of delegation, we can find that there will be wholehearted support from both the sides. Employees will come forward, managers will come forward. They will delegate the authority. They will not be reluctant to accept the authority. And also, another thing that can be done is we should determine the decisions and tasks to be delegated. This should be decided. It should not be any kind of abrupt decision. It should be properly calculated, assessed that what kind of decisions are to be delegated. And while delegating the authority, one important consideration is the choice of a person to whom the power is being delegated, that what kind of caliber he has. Sometimes, on the basis of seniority, if authority is given, that person may not be that competent as his junior would be. So the choice is very important. This delegation should be part of the planning process of the organization, which aims towards the achievement of the goals of the organization. Subordinates at the initial level, they may make some mistakes also. Subordinates should be allowed to develop their own solutions, and they should also be allowed to make mistakes, so that people by and large in our society learn by mistakes. What is the requirement here is the more support and training, and also enhanced communication with them, so that any kind of confusion which is hindering the process of delegation is taken care of properly. Well, your attention please, students. So now we are at the last part, of this week 9, that is the organizing. In this last part, we are going to have a look at the organization architecture. In this pictorial presentation, you find this architecture. Architecture is something which is a point of confusion in the minds of many people. We are not talking about the architecture world work for building or machines. We are talking here about the organization architecture. When the word architect comes into picture, it opens our mind, because things are done in more sensible way. It shows a kind of caliber. In this picture, you can see that how this structure of the organization has been shown. Don't you feel this is very impressive kind of structure which has been designed architecturally? You find here all things placed vertically and horizontally in a systematic way. You see what is happening in the vertical organization, what is happening on account of the horizontal organization. All things are self-explanatory. I will explain you now all this. Let us, to begin with, should understand that what is the basic logic, basic meaning, basic philosophy of the organization architecture. I want to tell you that the totality of the firm's organization, including the formal organization structure, control system, incentives, processes, organizational culture, and people. If you take all these things together, is the organization architecture. Organizational architecture is the establishment of roles. It's not the construction of any building or settings of a building. It is about the establishment of roles, processes, and formal reporting relationship within an organization. See how nicely it has been defined. It is a metaphorical reference to a structure that fleshes out an organization. A well-crafted organizational architecture profile helps potential clients and vendors understand an organization. There are several reasons for allowing organizing architecture. One reason is to create a structure that allows organization to achieve its desired outcomes and also performance in the short term and in the long term too. Another reason is to create a structure that is efficient and effective, and it is the requirement of every organization. Organizational architecture consists of two things, students: vertical and horizontal. In case of the vertical differentiation, we find that there are two categories: tall versus flat structure. In case of the horizontal differentiation, we find four here: functional structure, multi-divisional structure, geographic structure, and matrix structure. Let us see, first of all, the vertical differentiation. You find here tall versus flat organizations. You should see the pictures. What is being shown in the tall organization and what is being shown in the flat organization. You find that the number of employees is same, but the pattern is different. This is present in both categories of organizations. There are employees in both categories of organizations. But in case of the tall organizations, what we find that this type of organizational structure has many layers and narrow span of control that you can see. Now, flat organizational. In case of flat organization, we find that this type of organizational structure has few layers and wide span of control. Few layers and wide span of control. I hope this point is crystal clear about the tall and flat organizations on the basis of their vertical integration. Now, we should also see one more thing about establishing relationships, establishing the reporting relationships in the flat and as well as tall organizations. If we look at the tall organizations, we find that tall organizations are more expensive because of the number of managers involved. They foster more communication problems because of the number of people through whom information must pass. On the contrary, in case of the flat organizations, we find that these organizations lead to the higher level of employee morale and productivity. This organization creates more administrative responsibility for the managers, relatively few managers, and it creates more supervisory responsibility for managers due to wider span of control. So these are the relationships between the tall versus the flat organization students. Now, we look at the other side. The organization is architecture from the horizontal point of view. The horizontal differentiation is shown in this picture. First one is the functional structure, where we find general manager heading the production department, finance department, marketing department, and HR department. And this structure is created based on the various functions of the organization. This is called the functional structure. It is a category of the horizontal differentiation. The multi-division structure is different. Here we find multiple divisions are created in a related industry. General manager, of course, is on the top. And in case of the multi-divisional structure, we find division 1, division 2, division 3, division 4, etc. Then comes the division or M form, multi-divisional design. An organizational arrangement based on multiple businesses in related areas operating within a larger organizational framework, following a strategy of related diversification. Activities are decentralized down to the divisional level. Others are centralized at the corporate level. The largest advantage of M form design are the opportunities for coordination and sharing of resources. Third, geographic structure, in which the departments are created based on geographic regions. All the activities in one geographic region is categorized into one unit. You can see central region, eastern region, western region, southern region, etc. It's simple to understand. It is called the horizontal differentiation. Last, students, is the matrix organization. It is a new kind of phenomena where you find that CEO is on the top, to whom Vice President Engineering, Vice President Production, Vice President Finance, and Vice President Marketing are reporting. Project Manager A, Project Manager B, Project Manager C are there, under whom different categories of employees are working. It is a kind of matrix system where the division is being done. Students, a brief idea about the advantages and disadvantages of the matrix structure is very much important here. Quickly, I sum up. The advantages of the matrix structure consist of that it enhances organizational flexibility. Team members have the opportunity to learn new skills. It provides an efficient way for the organization to use the human resources. Team members serve as bridge to their departments for the team. This is the positive side of the matrix structure. The other side, which consists of the disadvantages part, people say employees are uncertain about reporting relationship. This is one of the drawbacks of the matrix structure. The dynamics of group behavior may lead to slower decision making, one person domination, compromised decisions, or loss of focus is there in case of the matrix structure, and many times may be required for coordinating task related activities.